Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the second season of the Bold Vision podcast, where we talk everything construction. And today, we're going to talk about how construction owners can use AI to streamline, scale, and sell smarter. So it's all about empowering construction business owners to grow smarter through strategies, automations, and marketing clarity. And today, I'm very excited to have my guest, Michael Reimer. He's an AI automation expert. He has deployed over 1,500 AI voice agents, I should say. And he has multi-million dollar businesses. And he was also a featured speaker at the Level Up Summit in Dallas. And that's where I met him. So today we're going to be doing a lot of collaboration. I bring on the ground of the construction implementation, and together, we're going to show you how to stop running in circles and start scaling smarter. So, welcome, Michael. I'm so glad to have you today.
Well, thank you for having me, Sonya. I really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, so we're just going to get started. So, for those people that don't know you or have never met you, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? And then we're going to go into how did you get into all this AI stuff?
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So basically, the day I graduated high school, I ended up getting hired at the fire department. So yeah, I did 30 years on the fire department. I had to retire when I was 48 years old. So after 30 years, and then I started up a marine company where we work on mega yachts for most of the celebrities that are located in South Florida. So we worked on Jeff Bezos's boat, his new wife's boat, Jimmy Buffett's boat before he passed away. Wayne Gretzky, pretty much all the golfers down here, Enrique Iglesias. So we do IT on those boats. So I was in Nashville, Tennessee at a trade show. This is 3.5 years ago. Keep in mind, Sonia, this is 3.5 years ago. People didn't even really know how to spell AI at 3.5 years ago. So we were
Okay.
at this trade show and looking for a piece of equipment for our marine business, and there was a session on using AI in your business. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go in here. It sounds pretty intriguing. I was a tech guy. That's what we do on these yachts. We do all the tech IT work. So I sat in on there and I was totally blown away. And I just dove in feet first and I started researching and getting involved in AI pretty much full time. So I had a staff and they can run my business and I kind of focus full time on AI. And then I got into high level, and I met you in Dallas, which was amazing conference. And I really just took a liking to AI. And over the past 3 years or so, I've been involved in high level and AI. So I really enjoy it. I love automating businesses. I love meeting people that are into this technology, and it's just awesome. So yeah, my wife said you have to get out of here and go to work or do something. You're driving me crazy. So this is kind of what I do.
Right.
And then I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but just as of 2 weeks ago, I gave my business, my marine business, to my employees. So they were with me since day one, and I wasn't going to sell the business because I would have been tied to it. So, and then I also knew, Sonia, that if I was involved as a partner in the business, I would want to do things my way. So I basically gave them my business, and they could take it and move it forward, and I can work on what I really enjoy, which is this type of stuff. So.
Right. No, I find it really cool too. And I'm learning all the time. I use AI pretty much every day in my life for everything from personal to business. So let me just ask you a question. What trends do you see, or what trends did you spot like early compared to like what's going on now? How has it changed? And, yeah, tell me a
Well,
little bit
I mean,
about
I
that.
really learned a lot. I mean, honestly, I learned so much over the past 3.5 years. I mean, like I said, 3.5 years ago, I guess you consider me an early adopter, but I wanted to automate my business. And one of the things that I quickly realized after stumbling was that I thought I had this vision in my head that I'm going to automate my entire business and deploy high level and, deploy every feature in high level, and that is far from the truth. I would stick it, I would stick with 4 to 5 key features within high level that'll make a monetary difference in your business. And the reason I say this is that, you know, if you're not using this technology, and here's how I explain it to people. To me, AI is a time compressor. So if something is going to take you 8 hours, now it takes you an hour and a half. So that frees
Right.
up that balance to do other things in your business. So if you're not using that time compressor, AI as a tool, then other people are, and they're going to have a lot more time to outcompete you. And that's what's going to end up happening in the next few years. So realistically, it's not AI that's going to put you out of business. It's lack of using it, I think, that's going to put you out of business because you're not efficient. And I think you
Right.
would probably agree with me, Sonia. Like over the
Yes.
last year of my life, I've created more content, more documents, more creativity than I ever have in my entire life as a result of using AI.
Me too. No, I agree. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was something about, I mean, I was in the construction industry, like actually in the field, and I was using AI for my work, for project management, for meetings, for emails, finding, RFI, finding information. If there was an RFI, going to the spec book. I mean, I was using it regularly. And I actually got criticized on the job from my construction company. They basically said, we don't need an AI automated, we need a person. And so when I was listening to this podcast the other day, they said, if you're in a company or a corporation where they're not adapting these technologies and these tools, you probably need to think about quitting. And guess what? That's exactly what I did. Even though I had been building my digital marketing company 2.5 years prior to my departure, but AI helped me in so many ways, and I just didn't understand what was their fear. I mean, if I was doing things efficiently and fast and I was getting correct answers, why do they care whether or not I'm using AI or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a great example. I just deployed a voice agent for a industry, the electrical industry. So essentially, everyone thinks of a voice agent as being somebody that's going to answer your telephone and take messages and perhaps even book to a calendar, and then that's it. I deploy them in all facets. So, like in the construction industry that you just indicated, I just did one for an electrical contractor that we programmed it. It had every single national electrical code in the voice agent. So if it was a private number, so the installers had it. If they had a question on the national electrical code, they could just call it and ask the AI agent and say, hey, what's the wire size on this, run, and how far does the circuit protection need to be from the device? And in 2 seconds, it would give them the correct answer, and it would be referenced to the National Electrical Code. Could you imagine having to look up that data in the National Electrical Code and try to find it in the field, looking through, binders or books or even an app and try to locate that? It would be nearly impossible. You'd be wasting so much time. So they had the whole National Electrical Code at their fingertips. I mean, that's just one
Right.
way to, streamline your company.
Well, when I was in construction, I mean, that was always the problem. It was always waiting for someone to give us an answer. Because in construction, you're going to have change orders. You're going to run into things that you did not foresee, right? You're going to have to put in RFIs. And I mean, I can't tell you the times that we just sat waiting for an answer. I mean, so much time and money just wasted. So, let's just speak like directly to the construction firm owners who are still tracking, their leads on a whiteboard, or, everything is, done manually. What do we want to say to these people?
I mean, honestly, Sonia, I've come across every type of business. I've come across a small mom and pop to large corporations, and they're in various states across that spectrum. I've had some very small companies that are on their game. I've had some large companies that are on their game, and I've had just the opposite. Small companies had no idea, and large companies had no idea. So, what I would suggest, honestly, what I would suggest for every single one, that one size fits all solution would be to look at four key things in your business, and you can automate these. And these are what's going to give your clientele, your contractors out there, um, generating revenue using AI. One would be, a lot of what I see, I come across the companies and they're running ads on Facebook, Google, it doesn't matter, any of the ad platforms. but yet they ignore that the customers that they have that they already have done business with. So they don't talk to them, but they're running new ads to get new customers. That's a waste of a lot of money, because to get a new customer, it's far more expensive than to re-engage your old customer database. So I mean, you could have 500 on that database, or you could have 5,000, or you can have 50,000. It doesn't matter. But that's an automation that you run, and you re-engage your old clients and you keep them engaged. So that's simple to do. The second one would be reputation management. If you are not handling Google reviews, you're leaving
Right.
money on the table. So, for 1 star increase on a Google review is about 15,000 impressions to your website. Impressions equal dollars. The other thing is, you got to realize that each one of those star ratings is worth money. So, that's a huge thing. You automate them. You also can automate them posting to your social profiles. You can
Right.
respond to them. You could request them. And then the other important thing is you can post them on your website automatically. So you set it and forget it on this case. I mean, I set mine
Right.
up on on my site a year ago. I haven't touched it since. It runs on literally autopilot. And
Okay, so
that
let's for people that are listening, because I know how it works, but let's just back up a little bit, because I mean, most old school contractors, I have a client, for example, and I did build him, I made him like a credit card with a code, a QR code, so that when he goes to get payment from the client, he can actually just have them scan it right then and there, because there are a lot of home services that really don't send out invoices or send out emails to their clients. So for them to put something on automation like this, because we know we need the customer's name, email, that way we can set up the automation on, a regular, or we can send them an SMS, a text message, but we need this information. And I mean, basically, if you continue, everything's repetitive. So repetition, because I hear a lot, well, I can never get my customers to do it. They just won't do it. I mean, what do you say to, these kind of like landscapers or tree services, those kind of home
Yeah, I mean,
service
so
businesses?
basically, most of them now are doing a more electronic billing, because people like to pay with various methods of payment. So I do a few different things with that. Number one, I would suggest that you have an automation, so when your bill is sent out and they pay, as soon as it pays, it triggers that automation, and then they get a review request from you. The other thing is, I just did large fence contractor up in the Northeast, and he's also a fence supplier. And essentially, what they do is every time they turn a job over to the client, the estimator goes out and gets the review right on site, like you indicated.
Right.
Some ways you could do it with a QR code on a card. That's one way. You could do it on a touch card. But you know what I found very inexpensive? You don't need anything. I set it as a screensaver on my phone. So everybody has a cell phone. I set that QR code as a picture on my phone as a screensaver. It looks really nice. It's branded. And then I hand my phone and I say, "Here you go. Scan my phone with your camera." And it goes right to their Google business profile. But keep in mind, a lot of businesses, they neglect that Google business profile as well. So that needs to be updated and kept up to date and optimized. And then, like I said, this thing would be on autopilot once that's done. That's the hard part, is just getting that Google business profile updated. Once that's done, set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about it. And then, the next step here is, the next week or so, High Level is a great piece of software. That's what I use.
Right.
They're coming out with video testimonials. So you're going to be able to send video testimonials out to your clients. And those are huge, that you could place those on your website widget and all that.
Right.
So something to think about.
Yeah. And let's just talk about, since we're talking about AI and we're talking about widgets, I recently put an AI voice on my actual website, right? So now, when people come onto my website, instead of filling out a form, waiting for me to get back to them, anything that they want to know, I mean, they can ask it anything, and they can book a call with me right then and there. And it comes right to my phone, goes on my calendar, all it sends them a Zoom link. All I gotta do is show up.
Yeah, let me talk about that for a second. I'll give you some things that just happened to me over the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
I was dealing with home builder, and I met with him, and I was showing him exactly what we're talking about here today, and reputation management, reactivating his clients, and we talked about voice, and he's like, "Oh, I really don't need that. I have a full-time secretary that answers our phones."
Right.
I was like, "Oh, okay, that's really awesome." I said, "Do me a favor, can you give me your?" He was using Ring Central. Probably a lot of listeners probably utilize that. I said, "Give me your Ring Central reports and let me see what you got." When I looked at it, I said, "You are paying a full-time secretary to answer the phone, and you're missing 43% of your calls." So, that's just during business hours. He's missing 43% of his calls. Each one of those calls in his environment is probably worth around $800. And he's missing 43% of those when she's at lunch, when she's on break, when she's on another call, or when she just took a step away from the desk, she's missing calls. So 43, he was begging me to put a voice agent on his site and in his system. Now, keep in mind that not only does that answer all your questions, but it also frees up that secretary or receptionist time as well. You're not tying up your whole phone line talking about, "Hey, are you open today? Where are you located? How do I get directions to your location?" You're handling calls that are important because all of those are answered by the AI and flawlessly. So just repurposing the time alone is worth the investment by far. And then you could send out contracts, like you said, you can automate that and send out, "Oh, you have to sign this form." You could do a lot of things. There's a lot of advanced features. We are even deploying what's called vision. So you could actually, the AI can, you can upload pictures to the AI and it can see your house and
Yep.
see it and give it an estimate. So all automated. So there's, the sky's the limit, really.
I know. And it's amazing what go high level, what this tool has in there. I mean, just between the calendars, the marketing tool, you can schedule out content for a month in advance. I mean, you can replace DocuSign. Like you said, you want to do all your contracts, all your invoices, estimating, whatever. You can create all of these documents and send it directly to your client, and you don't need DocuSign anymore. You can,
No, I mean, basically right now, my process, somebody signs up with us, we do an automated proposal. They sign off on the proposal. It automatically generates a contract. They actually physically sign it, DocuSign style.
right?
I sign it on my end. As soon as that's done, it ramps up a folder and populates our project management system, which they can do. It's very simple and high level to do that external. So if they're using ClickUp or any project management software, so you just shave so many um, hours off of your work week. It's amazing what you've done. So to
Right.
me, it's huge.
Right. So, what do you say to the people that say, "Oh, well, my customers might think that it's a robot that they're talking to," and they think actually that people will be offended or like there's not the human touch. I beg to differ, just because I've been using AI for so long. I mean, if it's willing to talk to me, it's willing to overcome objections. It's willing to give me information. I mean, I don't mind having a conversation with it at all. And, I've been using a tool where I actually made me a QR code. And so when I go to networking events, instead of handing out business cards, I mean, yes, I have business cards, but I just ask the person to scan my code and then my AI assistant will call them. And I have it set where they can call them in 2 hours or they can get an immediate call. And if they calls them immediately, then they can talk to it. And the other thing, when they scan the code, I skipped this part. It's actually a form, and they put their name and their email or their phone number. So as soon as they hit submit, it's already captured in my CRM. I already have their
Right.
information. It's done. Like, I don't need a card. I don't need anything. And now when I put that into my automated system, it's automatically going to send them an email or a text message. The AI is going to call. And I can't tell you how many appointments I've booked just recently by having that QR code when I'm out at networking events.
Yeah, I mean, just having a follow-up automation alone. I mean, if I was venturing a guess, every contractor that's listening to this podcast, if you look at their sales pipeline, stage one in their sales pipeline is probably stacked to the max. So, having an automation um, running to get them out of stage one and get them either, bailing out or signing up is huge. I mean, I've went into this fence company that I just mentioned. They had 7,000 leads in stage one in their pipeline that are just lingering. And why does that happen? Well, because they have sales reps, full-time sales reps. They call them once, they don't answer, and then that's it. They leave them sit there, and then they go on to the next one, and they call them once, oh, no answer, leave them again. And those leads are valuable. They're paying for ads, Facebook and Google ads, a lot of money. And there's no adequate follow up. You don't call a lead one time and then just write it off after you just spent $30 to get it or $3. It doesn't matter, you know.
Right.
But the bottom line is they had around 7,000 of these. So you build an automation, you get them, going. Either they're going to opt out or sign up. And if they endure it and stay, and then keep them and nurture them, because you never know in somebody's life, maybe they just sold a house or they're not ready yet, and maybe a year they remember, hey, listen, this is XYZ Contracting, you've been hitting me every week, and now it's time. Who are they going to think of? And the
Right.
other thing is, you have around 7 minutes to get back with somebody before they're going to hit the Rolodex and call somebody next on that line, in Google or whatever. So you have to get back with them quickly, just as you indicated. So that is huge. That
I
speed
know
of lead.
time is of the essence. I mean, seriously, and you only have a few minutes to capture them if they do land on your website. And that's why I think the AI voice, just talking to them right there on your website, because people don't want to wait, and that's just a world that we're in. And I know me, personally. I mean, I had a pool situation. I needed to get a hold of a pool contractor, and so I swear to God, I must have called. I mean, I just went down Google. I started at the top and went all the way down. Do you know, I must have called 5 people. None of them answered their phone.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, why? I mean, why are these people not answering their phones?
I mean, the statistics is really crazy. I mean, so like 43% don't answer for 48 hours. But, the bottom line is, it just happened to me too. I'm in South Florida. It's hot here, and we had an AC issue.
Hmm.
I needed service on my air conditioner. I started at, like you said, you start at the top and you start dialing, and then number three answers the phone. And then what are you going to do? I'll pay more just because the guy answered his phone. Just get out here and fix it. I don't have time. Your time is worth money too. So your customers' time is worth a lot of money. So if you're not going to answer it, they'll pay more for somebody that answers it. And then
Right.
you brought up something that was a really good point, Sonia. You said, well, a lot of people think it sounds robotic. Well, there's a couple of things to talk about there. There's a couple of points. Number one, I don't think people really care that it sounds robotic. I think, people that are criticizing it will say, oh, it sounds robotic, but we're not trying to trick anybody and say this is a human
No.
either. So we're not playing tricky games here. So number two is that, the other thing that you got to realize is that people want, to handle their problem and they want to handle it quickly. They don't think it's a great experience to talk to a human and get transferred all over the place and then not get their issue handled and spend 30 minutes on the phone on a simple problem. So I prefer it, especially I like to do business in the evenings. So my day is usually jam packed. And then when my day calms down, my wife's like, oh, you need to call XYZ. I love it when there's an AI there and I can handle my business. And I'm on the phone for 5 minutes. They handled it, and I hang up the phone and I'm good. And I get a
I
confirmation
know.
that back up exactly what I just did. I'm good with it.
I know. Remember the days where you called a call center, and I mean, literally, you would wait on hold for, I mean, forever, like for insurance or T-Mobile, all of these businesses. It was such a pain in the butt. I would much rather too just talk to an AI and get my situation handled, get my problems resolved. And that comes to, the next thing I was going to say is absolutely never am I going to tell someone, oh, my assistant is going to be calling you, like trying to indicate that it's a human. I will, purposely say my AI assistant will be calling you. She can answer any questions you want. If you want to play around with it, feel it out. you want to make, book an appointment, please, by all means do. And, I'd love to hear your feedback. So, yeah, we're not trying to trick anybody. We're not trying to lie and say, it's a human when it's not. I think that's where, it gets tricky. I mean, people just need to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think a lot of people, a lot of business owners, they overlook the conversational AI piece as well. That is very important because it's answering, it's responding to SMSs. So if they're going to text your phone number, they're going to immediately get a response. People do that now. You have an office phone, they think, oh, whether it's set up or not, they're going to text it and at least they're going to get an instant response. And SMS is going to be your highest performer. If you look at statistics, it's going to close more deals than a phone call. Because why? It sits on your phone forever. So maybe you got that text at 8 in the morning, things calm down, and you're watching TV in the evening, and that text message, you look down and you're like, oh, I forgot to respond to that. It's going to close more deals than any other piece of technology we're discussing. But it's also, I can almost guarantee you this from what my experience shows, your contractors, they're probably, some of them are pretty active on social media, but I can guarantee you they're busy as anything, working and doing their normal jobs, that they're not responding to DMs, they're not responding to Instagram comments. You know, these days, a lot of people communicate that way. So I try to make sure I respond to all of that, whether it be on the website, Instagram, SMSs, live chat, the whole gamut. So that's a huge deal as well. And that's easy to set up. Once you set that and you basically forget it, it'll know your business and it'll book to the calendar as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do to be more efficient with AI. So, I want to just, from my experience, people don't need to be afraid of it. They need to embrace it. And once you start using it and you see how much time and energy, it will, help you with, I think that, more people will be open, to using it. I am seeing more and more people open to it. And, even though I started in construction in the beginning, when I got into digital marketing, because my core business was building websites, doing SEO, managing Google business, profiles, getting them in the maps, managing their social media. But that was way before I knew about this AI stuff with Go High Level. I mean, all of this has come to play like in the last year. So now, when I am out meeting people, I mean, now I know that I can help anybody. It doesn't have to be a construction company, per se, or a home services business, because, real estate agents, CPAs, accountants, lawyers, I mean, you name it, doctors' offices. I mean, so many people can use the AI part of it. If I'm wanting to just do that, maybe, not do their website and everything. But yeah, I mean, there's no limit. Like you said,
No,
there's
there's
just
no
no
limit.
limit.
And you brought up a great point. Website would be another key feature that I feel is very important because, you can go out and do all this work with this AI stuff. So you got four like pillars that I just mentioned, the database reactivation, reputation, voice, conversational AI. So you do all that work and then you come up and your contractors perhaps have a website that looks like a kindergartner put it together, but their competitor has something that's very polished. Just natural human instinct is they're going to go with the person's going to go with the one that looks like they have their act, together. And why would they do that? Well, they're trusting you with their house. So if their website looks a little, janky, they're not going to go with you to work on their home or or redo their electric or redo their AC or any of that. So unfortunately, that is your digital storefront. I mean, people want, to feel comfortable, and the only way they can evaluate you is by what the way your website looks. And don't forget, like there's some things that need to be on that website as well. You need to be able to book on the website, whether it be a calendar. You need to be able to integrate forms on that website. You need to have back end automations that do follow-ups, and you need to have a chat widget on that website all the time. So those are things, keep in mind that chat widget's also collecting, these voice agents and chatbots, they're not like just passive. They're also, we prompt those to upsell your product as well. So it's not only grabbing data, like grabbing name, address, phone number, all that, so you can increase your list, but it's also going to say, listen, I'm a HVAC contractor and I have a problem with my AC. And then you say, okay, there, is there a charge to come out today? Well, there may not be, or there may be, but what you do is we could program that AI to say, well, it'll be free if you sign up with an annual contract with us, and you just upsell them in from a one-time visit to handle a minor repair to an annual maintenance contract right on the call. The AI can do that for you. So, don't discount the fact that they can't sell for you, because the hard part is getting a client on the phone, and now
Okay.
the easy part is to upsell them into really what they should have originally.
Right. No, all this is very hopefully anybody listening to this podcast, I mean, that's my whole goal, is to bring value, to, bring as much information to the forth, so that people know that this is really what's going on. I mean, I speak it all day long on LinkedIn. I do tons and tons of content and video creation, and I feel like I'm just preaching it over and over and over, but honestly, people have to hear it over and over. It's just like a sale. You can't expect to sell someone the very first time you talk to them. Sometimes it takes 7 touches, they say, right? So it's the same thing with this whole concept. So, if there are some business owners out there that are listening this, or they're going to be listening to it, what's the one thing that they could do, like immediately, to maybe dip their toe, into the automation or into AI? What would you suggest they do?
I think what we just spoke about, honestly, is you could deploy this in 1 week in your business and make a difference. So just think about this. So we come in, do a database reactivation. You're going to see instant results. We'll trickle that because you definitely don't want to get overwhelmed with phone calls and not be able to respond to those appropriately. So that's going to be instant revenue for you. We start increasing Google reviews, that's going to be instant revenue for you. You start answering your phone, that's instant revenue. You start handling all your SMSs and your socials, that's going to be revenue. So the 4 things that I just mentioned are key revenue generators. And then, the website may take a little longer because there's design time and all that. But, you know, those are the 5 key things that I think every single contractor should focus on, and then it will make a difference in your business. Don't try to tackle everything. High level alone, if we're speaking about high level, has like 625 features. If you try to automate your business, you'll be doing it for years and you'll give up. There's no possible way. But take it slow and do these 5 things that I just mentioned, and then after you get those under control, it's not going to be that difficult, and you can go ahead and look for future, maybe like you indicated earlier. So you said, oh, what about social media? Automate social media posting across all platforms. I've never, you know, since I'm using High Level, I automate my social posts. I'm on 8 platforms, and I didn't even really know some of these platforms. But you know what? It's free. And if I can get one client out of one of those platforms a month, that's an extra client a month.
Right.
That doesn't cost me anything. Because if I'm building content for one platform, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, what's the
Right.
difference? It's one button to activate a check mark, and it goes across all of them.
Right. And
I'm
that's
not a
what I
big
do for my
TikTok guy, but
clients, because we do in Bold Vision SEO. I mean, we manage social media, we manage Google business profiles. I mean, a lot of people don't want to do it themselves. I get it. It's a lot of work. And but yeah, the
yeah.
fact that I can go in there and automate, and like you said, if I'm making content for a Google business profile, all I have to do is take that and put it back in a chat GPT and say, okay, now I need socials, based on these topics or whatever, and it'll build me a whole content calendar for the entire month. And it's basically copy and paste, go high level, go into the marketing tool, create that, pick a date, create it, and pick all the platforms. Pick Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all of them, TikTok, whatever it is, and it'll post to all of them, LinkedIn. It's just incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I would
makes life
venture
so
to
much
say, I
easier.
mean, all your contractor folks out there, keep in mind that, they could be generating content all day long. They're on job sites, and, they could be in their vehicle, they can be out front of a residence or in a job or whatever and see something, and they can just generate little videos and have those. And then they can just feed them to you, and you could repurpose those and make that really
Exactly.
engaging content. I mean, people love that. People love little videos like that, more so natural stuff rather than a corporate ad with that has a logo and then it's so polished. I mean, people really love the organic, natural style video,
Yeah.
snippets.
Yeah.
You're engaging them and letting them into your life.
Right. And I do try to encourage that with my little guys, like my deck builders and my tree guys. I'm like, just, I mean, it takes just a couple of seconds to just, capture something. And we can turn those into some really great content for you for social media. So, yeah, people do need to understand that these little videos, it really doesn't take much time. And if you're working with a marketer like myself or Michael, we can turn these things in for you and automate it. And yeah, maybe you'll get some more business from that. So the next thing I want to kind of touch on, and this is just, I'm curious because, when we met at the Level Up Summit where you were on stage. I was blown away. Honestly, that's a real area that I want to grow. Like off camera, I mean, I'm doing fine with you here because it's one to one, but I get really like stage fright, like a deer in headlights. When I go to these networking events, I have to talk in front of all these people. I don't know why I get so nervous and why it's so hard for me. And I don't even know if you had a teleprompter up there, but I know you do a lot of public speaking. So anybody that, might be interested in about building confidence on public speaking, what gets you confident and what is the advice that you could give me on that?
I mean, honestly, it's just going to take practice. That's all it takes. You just have to put yourself out there and repeat and repeat and repeat. When I first, people asked me and said, "Oh my gosh, you have such valuable content. Why don't you do YouTube?" And I said, so it's so funny. So High Level asked me, they're like, come on and do this master class. And I went on, I did this master class. And, I mean, I don't know, it just always resonated with me that people said, oh, you should really watch yourself when you're done. So I said, okay, I'm going to go watch this master class because that's a big deal. These master classes, it's very selective. So I said, I'm going to really go back and watch this. And I was like, that was awful. I thought to myself, that was horrendous. I thought it was the worst thing ever. Well, I guess other people thought otherwise because it's going to be the number one masterclass in all of high level history. And, it has about 9,000 views. And I was like blown away by that. So then people started saying, hey, listen, why don't you have a YouTube? And I'm like, I really don't have time for it. I really don't, I don't know. So then I started it and it was procrastination central. Like all I wanted to do is procrastinate. I don't want to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. So then I had to buckle down and I said, I had an editor, I'm paying an editor. So I said, you know what, I have to do this. And I had to develop my own strategy. So you're going to have, your listeners are going to have to, if they're going to be in front of a bunch of people, they're going to have to develop their own, style and strategy. So what I do is I binge. I just do all my videos in one day and then I could take a break for a week or so. And then I do it again in one day because I know I can't get myself, Sonya, to be like, hey, Monday I'm going to film, Wednesday I'm going to film, with Friday. I just know I wouldn't do it. So I had to find what works for me. And then, you just have to do it. And as silly as it sounds, people will resonate with it. And if you have great content, they love it. So
Yep.
don't be worried about being so stiff and like, all proper and, just go with it and give them great content. They're going to love it.
Right. And,
And
and another thing I started doing, I mean, for anybody listening, like all of my calls, all of my deep dive calls, of course, the podcast is recorded, but I mean, just people that I'm talking with that book a call with me, I started recording everything from like two angles and, capturing the whole conversation. And then
oh,
I'll
nice.
take clips from that. And I have so much content, I don't even know what to do with. And then when I go to these networking events, I take a short little video or I take pictures with people, and then occasionally, if I'm driving in the car and something comes to my mind, believe me, I'll just hit the I'll just hit the record button and go off on a tangent for, 30, 60 seconds and talk about something. And hey, maybe I didn't look great that day. Maybe I didn't have makeup on. Maybe, I'm talking in circles. Maybe I'm saying the same thing over and over. But it's just great to have those content and that content and not be afraid about, posting it out there. So
Yeah, I mean,
I
I purchased a an AI recorder, like a wearable AI recorder, a little Claude one. It's like a lapel, and it
okay.
records for like 50 hours. And what I really like about it is if I go to a meeting, everything I have is organized, and then it outputs. It's not so much to spy on anybody or anything like that. It's in the open, but it also keeps me straight. I do a lot of calls throughout the day, and things start to get blurry a little bit. So I can always have that. It outputs that in a very nice format. I think they have 3,000 templates. So you could select what works for you, to do list, however you want to organize it. And it helps me because, think about it. You're going about your business and I say, oh, that's a really great idea. And then 5 hours later, I'm like, what was that idea again? And now that never happens to me. So I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but you know how it goes. But basically, I document my day, and it really makes a difference in my life because now, if I have a great idea, I capture every one of those, and I just have a running list of things, topics that I need to do, or ideas that I have. Maybe I'm talking to you, and I come up with something. I'm like, wow, that's a really good idea, and I get off the call, and 5 hours later, that idea is long gone. So
Yeah.
everything I do is like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. It's very good. And that's just technology, and then you're not talking about a lot of money. You're talking about like $100 one time. So it's worth it.
Yes. Well, we're going on an hour now, so I'm just going to wrap it up. I mean, because I could talk to you all day long. I mean, I could just stay on this call for hours and, tell stories and, tell people ways that they can use AI and build content.
Well,
But Michael, for any listeners that are listening, for the first time, or maybe they've listened to me before and they really like what you had to say, where would you tell them that they could find you? I mean, how is the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they're curious about talking with you?
I mean, you can get me on Facebook, and then also on my YouTube channel is very good. We have a lot of content there, a few hundred videos. It's michaelreimer.ai, and it's Reimer. But the other thing, Sonia, I meant to tell you, I brought up that little recorder, and it's so funny. I was doing a presentation for a big marine association
Okay.
recently, about a month ago. And one of the big problems, and it probably happens to your contractors as well. So I had that little recorder, and I was doing a presentation, and I was like, I had a light bulb, go above my head, because one of the things that happened in my marine business before I gave it to my employee is they go on a yacht and they use product, whether it be wire or bolts or connectors or whatever, and then they forget to write it on the work order. So for $100, I was thinking I can equip each one of them to wear that all day, and they go on a boat and be like, okay, I'm on this boat or I'm at this job, and they don't have to document anything. They could say, oh, I just used 10 feet of 10-2 wire on this boat, and all they have to do is verbalize it, and then that can output and go right into your workflow, and it could be on the invoice, because that's all shrinkage, things that are walking out your door that your contractors don't even know about. So
Wow.
there's a lot of little things that you can use and improve your life using AI. So that's just one.
Wow.
But
No,
yeah, you
yeah,
can
no,
reach
that's
me.
great. I mean, yeah, can you imagine working on a job and not have to document it, manually or on an iPad or in Pro? Yeah, you can talk and then all of the transcript can be translated into your workflow, into your system. I mean, that's just
And it can
amazing.
extract the items, it can extract the items, but also keep in mind it's a great documenter for liability. So you can say, oh, I just went up here, we checked the breaker, everything's good. We replaced this, we did a check, everything's, great now. Just document what you've done, and they don't have to write anything. They can just talk while they're working, and it captures it and summarizes it and puts it wherever you want it, so you can automate that very easily.
Wow. Yeah, this has been gold. That's all I can say. So, I'm just going to speak, to any construction business, any business owner out there. If you want help like identifying, where your systems are leaking, time, money, you can reach out to me at Bold Vision SEO. I'll help you clean it up, automate it. I want you to grow with confidence, and I just want to thank Mike for being here with me today. I think this has been a great podcast. I loved everything that we talked about. And who knows, maybe we'll do it again. Yeah, just thank you so much for being my guest today. I've really appreciated this
Oh,
very
you're very
much.
welcome. I really love it. So I love talking about AI, and I love talking to people that love AI. So it's a perfect match.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And make sure to follow us on YouTube and Spotify. That's the Bold Vision podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.